Hello. Hey, it's Justin Prime. I don't really have much of a plan for this whatsoever, but I want to ink this Captain Spider, I think it's called, from B-Boy Spider-Man as a cosplayer. He does some pretty epic Spider-Man cosplays. Um, so I sketched it out in pencil already, and I kind of want to just hopefully do a little more detail discussion of my inking process and what I'm thinking and what I'm going for. My process is pretty darn simple. I don't do a whole lot of cross hatching or anything like that, so I don't even know if this is going to be beneficial to anyone. But if you like my style and you want to ink similar to me, this is the best way to do it. And like I said, I haven't rehearsed this or anything, so we'll see what happens. I haven't put up a whole lot of YouTube stuff. I've been really, really busy with a brand new job, and I had Stockton Con this past weekend. That's took up the majority of my mental space. For those of you that have been following me on YouTube or are starting to or whatever, what do you want to see? Like, do you want this type of stuff? Live streams, time lapses. I've been kind of doing live streams and time lapses, but if you're interested in more tutorial style, I mean, I'm willing to do more of that. But I'm curious what my YouTube subscribers are wanting from me. So please leave a comment and let me know what you want to see more of or less of or whatever. So I'm going to switch the camera to the, I think it's called Captain Spider, although it might be Spider Captain or Spider America. I don't know. So I'm not planning on coloring this. I'll probably do a whole separate video for that. But this is the sketch. Probably should do a whole other video on sketching too. But I'll be inking it with the Copic or Copic, I'll say Copic. The multi-liners, I only have one of these, like a refillable one. I absolutely love this. I like the barrel, I like the way it feels. These are, I think, the older one, no, not older ones, but the non-refillable one. Same brand, but it's smaller. Something about it just doesn't feel quite right to me. This one's a little bit thicker and it feels right to me in my hand, like it just feels better. But I have in order, it goes 0.05 is the smallest, 0.03, 0.1, and then 0.3. And this one is a 0.5, which is actually the thickest. That's what I use. Usually, I typically stick with 0.5 and 0.1. They have enough difference between them for me to do thick lines and then with the 0.5 and then thin lines with the 0.1. But really, well, you'll see. So I'll just start doing it and talk about it as I'm doing it. There's a good chance my wife will interrupt me since she's pregnant and constantly needs some kind of help, and that's all right. So I'm starting off with the 0.5. A lot of times when I'm inking, mostly what I'll do is I'll actually use a 0.1. And I'll start off with, fuck it, let's do it that way, I guess. So I am planning on coloring this. So I'll start off with 0.1. No, I won't. 0.3. I'll start off with that. And I just do like a first pass basically. I'm not really going for much weight or variance. I'm just getting all my lines, just a basic inking so that I know where everything is. I don't know about you when you draw, but when I do, I tend to get confused when there's tons of lines. So the sooner I can get it down on pencil and the simpler, the better off I am. And then I want to start going over it with ink. That means it's finalized, like that. These lines are set. These aren't going anywhere. And then I can erase everything around it. And then the confusion of what's what, well, it's gone. Especially when you have a lot of stuff going on in a scene. So like if you saw the Batman versus, actually Justice League versus Darkseid piece that I did, there was a lot going on, and I just started getting kind of confused as to what lines connected to what. And I'm sure there's ways I could do that better. but I'm not gonna, so let it go. So when I ink this first pass, like I said, I'm just doing basic lines, just kind of like holding places. Like I want to know what objects are what, so I'm not going into very much detail at all. And I'm not going for perfection either. Like, hopefully you can see I'm going pretty fast. Like I'm not, well, kind of fast. Like I'm not really, tracing exactly or whatever. So when I ink, I usually have a pretty clean style. Not really any cross hatching at all, I don't think. Rarely. Especially if I'm coloring. If I'm coloring something, I really don't cross hatch at all. I let my my coloring, my shading do the talking rather than cross hatches. If I'm doing just black and white, I might do some cross hatching to mix it up with different textures and whatnot. So the way I ink, see, this is like I said, I didn't really think this out very well. The way I ink, when I color is different than the way I ink when it's just going to be black and white. I'm going to color this one, but I'll just do it as if I'm doing black and white, since that's the point of the video. So I got, just again, getting my basic lines down. I may not ink in his webs since I think they're all supposed to be white. So I might just leave those alone. I typically ink everything, outline everything. Like this star is supposed to be white. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to put a black border around it, but that's comic style. That's kind of what you do. And I mean, to me, it looks right. And it fits with the style of everything else. So like outlining everything else and then not outlining the white star, I don't think visually would look quite right. So just for continuity, I'll usually outline or ink even white objects. I think when you ink, you got to be decisive. Don't stress about getting it perfect. If you do that, your anxiety is just going to kind of take over. Kind of have to be bold and confident, you know. If you mess up, there's always ways to hide it or to work around it, or you just start over if it's that bad. No, you're not. See, we got a viewer. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna bring up my my actual YouTube stream, live stream, so I can see comments if there are any. So whoever's viewing, feel free to ask questions or make comments. All right. All right. So I'm just adding in. I don't know what these muscles are called. I have no idea, but some kind of muscles. Okay. All right, so really I think my first pass is done. I'm going to decide not to ink the white lines. That's just it's like kind of overkill. I think once it's actually colored, I'll go back over it with a white pen and add the white lines in at the very end. So next, what I'm going to do is thicken things up. And usually what I'll do is I usually like to have a nice thick outline. This one I won't make it too thick, but I'm going to go all the way around the edge and just the edge. And just going over it once like that's probably enough. You can pass over it a couple times, but I think just once is good enough. And then there'll be another step after that. So all the way around the edge. Kind of made a mistake there, so I just thickened it up at the bottom. And again, this is just how I do it, obviously. So if you like my style, this is really it. And I mean, I don't see my work objectively like others do, so I can only guess my inking style complements the way I draw. Like I tend to do pretty simple shapes. This just started off as a circle. There's not a whole lot of detail in things, you know, like pretty basic muscle suggestions, nothing too specific whatsoever. I think the way I ink is really simplistic. Kind of like Edwin, what's his last name? Wang, I think? Edwin Wang? Iron Pinky on Instagram. He's pretty inspiring. He's got such a simplistic but powerful style. All right, so I went around the whole edge, I think, right? Yeah. But I'm going to thicken certain parts up even more. So the head, this is kind of like a judgment thing. The head, I usually like to have a bit thicker. As you thicken things up, what it's going to do is bring it to the foreground a little bit more. So that's going to should make the head look like it's on top of everything else. Okay, so I just a little bit like I thicken the jawline underneath. And then what's going to help that even more is putting a shadow underneath here. Or down here or whatever, but mine's going to go this way. So I thicken that up. And then other things that are on top, like this, what do you call it, strap, buckle, whatever. This is on top of his costume, so I thicken that up a little bit. I'll just go over it once with the 0.5 multi-liner. At least that's my reasoning here. So that's that. Not a whole lot to it. It's pretty simple. Further, well, this little buckle kind of comes off of the, well, I don't know what the hell you call it. This part of the belt comes up. It's supposed to look like it's up. So I'll thicken that up as well. I'm not going to go thicker than it was before, than the rest of the strap, I mean. Because I'm going to have a shadow right here that's going to help it jump off the page a little bit, hopefully. This one also kind of curls up, so I'm going to thicken that up. More thickening. The belt buckle, the silver metal part, should be on top of everything else, so it's a little bit thicker. Okay, pretty subtle. Nothing much to it. All right. What the hell comes next? All right, so the next part would be spot blacks is what we're gonna do next. I'll be right back. I have to grab my Copic black. All right. For those of you couple that are watching, thanks a lot. Feel free to ask questions if you can in the YouTube comments. I'll do the best I can to answer them. So for these black parts, where there's actually like black on the costume or black shadows, I just use the 100 Copic 100 black. Damn, I really want that to look nice. It doesn't look nice so well. These can have highlights on them. So the way I usually do it is I'll just do it all black, and then I'll put a little bit of white jelly roll pen on top of it to add some highlights, and then further go over that with white colored pencil. But you could also add that in. Me at this point, like I could leave an area right without touching these areas, like right here. Like that could be a highlight, but I don't want to do it that way. So with the with this, I use the brush tip side typically. For fat areas, I'll use the chisel side of it, but usually I use the brush side. And it gets pretty damn close, you know, like fine tuned because it's a sharp tip, but it's not perfect. And I typically like things to be really fine tuned. So sometimes I won't color in all the way to the edge of my original line, if you can see that. But I will fix it with the fine liner. I'll show you that. So I'll just leave it that way. It's not all colored in. Go back with my 0.5 fine liner and then fill in those gaps. And it's the same type of ink, so it should blend in really well. You shouldn't even be able to tell. I use two different pens to color in his eyes. So I prefer things to have a real sharp look, like I said, so I want this to be nice and clean. If I color over, this little spot right here drives me nuts. But the more you try and fix those kind of things, the worse it gets a lot of times, so sometimes you gotta suck it up and let it go. But I'm gonna try and fix this. Yeah, there we go, it's better off. Alrighty, so the eye sockets are done for now. Now with shadows, the light, you gotta decide where your light source is coming from. You have to have some sort of basic working knowledge of how light works, but ultimately, what I'd recommend you do is you do what looks visually the best. So my light source is gonna be coming this way, like that, and maybe more slightly in front of him and at him. So the light will not touch right here because his jaw is in the way, so the light will not get here. That means the shadow will be there. So let me see if I can take that up in pencil so you can see it. That help? Well, I'm about to color it in, so you'll see. But I want to make sure it looks You mean I can just roll with it and do it in ink, but for this one, I want to make sure it looks okay in pencil first. So I'm gonna get my shadows down where I'm comfortable with them. This is also one of those areas that could become confusing because I also have all my rough pencil sketch lines that I haven't erased. So that can be really confusing with what's a shadow and what's just pencil sketch lines. So when I ink, I typically do not ink. I think actually, I don't know for sure, but usually I don't ink. I don't do shadows over white, like the white of his eyes. I don't do a black shadow over it. The white symbol on his chest, I will not do a shadow over it. I like the whites popping out. So like underneath his, I think this is called a diaphragm. There's a shadow cast right there and right there, but not in the middle where the white is. I like that to be, well, obviously, I'm not gonna, I won't keep repeating myself. So there's gonna be some shadows underneath his boob here. Spider boob. His abs will give just a hint of a shadow, nothing much. Just like that. Right? What's up, Jamies? Thank you for watching, man. All right, that's that. Then we also need a shadow right here on the belt. I'll do one. So the light probably would get down here, but I'm gonna put a shadow here anyways because I think it'll look better, and I'm gonna choose that over what's realistic. Why? Because I'm an artist and I have that power. That's why. What else would have a shadow? The wrinkles right here. I don't do a whole lot of wrinkles, but just a couple. Let's stick with that and see how it looks. Avery, I have no idea, man. I've never done it before. I've never created a portfolio for the comics industry. I've never tried to break into the comics industry exactly. Definitely not on like Marvel level or anything like that. But there's a couple of local publishers that I've tried to work with, and things never go through yet. Yeah, Jay. Well, Jay, I haven't done a live stream in a while, man. I've been very preoccupied with other stuff. All right, so I'm doing the same technique where I use my brush, the brush tip to block in the basic shape, and then use the fine liner to fine tune it, make it nice and cleaner. Shadow underneath the belt. I thicken it up right there to make it look like maybe a shadow underneath the belt. Well, not underneath it, but slightly to the side of it. Do the same thing over here. Not much. All right, under boob shadow. I'll stick with the fine liner for this. Got a few viewers. Thanks a lot, guys. Now this under boob. So you got to be careful when you work with blacks. A thick outline sets a nice heavy shape, but the spot blacks draw the eye in. So that's typically, if you're not careful, that's the way it works, is that the viewer's eye will naturally, can naturally get sucked into the black areas. So you don't want to overdo it. Unless it's like, needed. And personally, when I work on something, I'd rather have my coloring do most of the talking. I don't even think I usually do this much shadowing. This might be more than I usually do. A little too much there. Yeah, I don't even do this much. All right, let's do the under the jaw. So wrinkles should cast some type of subtle shadow, like that. Yeah, that's not bad. Actually, I think it does. I was going to avoid putting a little shadow over here, but I think it needs it. Yeah, I probably should have done less here and more there. Damn it. Oh well. Yeah, this is definitely. I don't typically shadow this much at all. All right, a little bit under his shoulder here. Muse, yeah, I think I'm just gonna do the inking tonight, and I don't think I'm gonna color it. I kind of want to just relax tonight and play some Elder Scrolls on the old Xbox One. Yeah, that got out of hand there. Damn it. All right, what else? That's the basics. Like, man, it's really, yeah, shit. I don't do a whole lot. Oh, the costume. So his costume does have some borders that I would put in there. Let me look at the costume here. Skyrim was cool, man. Jay, have you played what's it called? Elder Scrolls Online? All right, so the borders in the costume, like I said, I'm not going to ink the webs or the star. But the borders I am going to ink, like where the blue touches the white and the red. But I'm going to do it with I'll try with a 0.1. It's probably a good idea to start with small and then go thicker, because you can't go thick and then go smaller. So I'll go real thin here. And I'm just looking at his costume while I do this here. Okay. So he's got a red stripe there. White and then red. Okay. There you go. So that's what that would be. And then it looks like, oh, there it goes. This is actually the reference photo that I used. Let's see. The blue creeps up right here and down like that. Yeah, that's good. All right, so I think it's about all I can do right now. So let's do a little bonus here. And I'll show you how I do whites to add on. This is what I use. It's a white Jelly Roll 08. It works just fine, but it looks like other people use something else that works better, and I forget what it's called. So can't help you with that. So with the white, you want to use it on places that might be reflective. And actually, I'm gonna do a little bit of texturing here. This belt strap, I'm not sure how it is in the picture. Let's see here. Yeah, it's leather, so it should be kind of worn and weathered, right? The leather should be weathered. And most of that can come from the coloring process, but a really simple way to make something look like it has texture is just to throw these little marks on it. It just gives it the feel of, being worn and whatnot. You see it on there? It's just a really simple, easy trick. And to take it a step further, those little random things you throw down with a smaller size fine liner, then go up another size and put a couple just sprinkled in there just to give it some variance of like smaller lines, bigger line. You don't need a whole lot at all. But it's this fake sort of worn look to it. And then when you color it, it'll help out even more. All right, so along those lines, with the white, you can do the same thing. Inside your black, that doesn't look very good at all. Inside your black shadows, just throw a couple in there to show that the texture continues into the shadow. Same with the wrinkle. The wrinkle you can bring that up into the shadow to suggest that the wrinkle continues. The way he has his mask in the extremely cool costume is that it's raised and there's a highlight on the top of it, and that's generally what I go for, but usually I draw my eyes flatter, like as if it's flat with the mask. So I don't get too hung up on that. And I typically, I don't know why I do it, but I tend to do it just kind of like one shining line like that. And at the top, the suggestion that there's some sort of lip right there, or that it's raised, not by much. And you can do the shininess continue to go this way, but I like to send it, kind of bring it back this way. So that looks all right. And then same thing. Let's see. Yeah, it's not very good at all. But that's the idea. That's pretty much it. I don't really do a whole lot. And then from this point on, it's basically like just kick-ass coloring. And when you're coloring, you can do different textures. You can do highlights. And then once everything's colored, then I would take the white pen and go over it. And that would really kind of bring everything home. But for now, that's really it. I mean, if you want to do my style, that's kind of what I do. So looking back on this, what I would eliminate is the black line underneath here. Cutting that out all together and just having a little bit right there would be enough. Probably get rid of this under boob shadow right here. And then less with the muscle shadows. It just doesn't look right. It doesn't really need a whole lot at all. So I'd probably stick with a nice thick outline, thicken up under the jaw and put the shadow there. And then thicken on top of things that are on top. So the head's on top, the belt buckles are on top, or the belts are on top, and the belt buckles are on top. So thicken those up, thicken up the head, thicken up the jawline, and add some really simple shadows underneath here. So that's what I would do differently next time. But regardless, it's ready to be colored. And that's really it. I mean, it's not a whole lot to what I do. So hopefully this was helpful to you watching it. And like I said at the beginning, if you missed the beginning of this, I'm going to switch my camera here. If you missed the beginning, please tell me what it is you'd like to see from me in the future. I don't know. It seems like I'm doing pretty good on Instagram. I have like 7,000 followers and a lot of interest and really positive stuff going on there. But Facebook and YouTube here, I do all right, but I'd like to interact with you guys more and give you more of what you're looking for. So please leave a comment and let me know what it is you want from me on YouTube. That's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned something.